Oh, now we are into the toilet bowl. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is a movie that was released in 2018, starring Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Rafe Spall, and directed by J.A. Bayona. Now, the first thing I'm going to say about this film is it is a mess. It even makes me question whether I was too harsh on Jurassic Park 3 because right now, oh, I would give anything to be able to just sit back and watch Jurassic Park 3 again and again and again instead of ever having to deal with this. This is a whole new level. The movie sort of begins with picking up 3 years after the events of Jurassic World and is a whole load of news coverage about ultimately what's happening with the dinosaurs now that are left to roam free on Isla Nublar. And the key thing is that we see there's now an active volcano because apparently they just spring up from the ground. It was initially sort of shown to be deactivated or it just defunct, but now it's active again. I don't know how that happens, but it's threatening to erupt and basically wipe out the dinosaurs that are on the island in an extinction level event, almost sort of recreating the meteor that struck in the first place and wiped them all out all those millions of years ago. We then pick up where we left off with Claire, who in the past 3 years has taken her newfound love for dinosaurs and respect for dinosaurs to a whole new level. In the last film, she was essentially viewing dinosaurs as assets and, a means of getting people into the park to create revenue. She then had a turning point where she then realised that actually they are animals and not just figures on a spreadsheet. She seems to have taken that to another level and developed it even further by becoming almost an animal rights activist solely for dinosaurs. And there is a whole debate that's raging as to whether or not any intervention should take place to prevent the animals from being, or the dinosaurs from being wiped out by this volcano. And she's very much on one side of the fence of saying we need to be doing whatever we can to save these dinosaurs. But the other argument is raging on, and Dr. Malcolm makes a surprise appearance with Jeff Goldblum's coming back to put his views across to the committee to say dinosaurs had their time at the beginning. This is nature running its course yet again and is causing the extinction of the dinosaurs once again. They had their time and nature selected them for extinction. Exactly the same as he made, or same point as he made in the very first movie. And that's a nice callback. I like that. I like it when someone comes back with a purpose and not just for nostalgia. And that is a nice touch for this movie. So we move on, and ultimately, Claire is approached by a person called Ben Lockwood, who is represented by a chap called Eli, who's played by Rafe Spall. And they present the idea of having a sanctuary for these animals to be moved to. And they select multiple different species to move them from the island to save them and bring them to the sanctuary where they can roam free and not have any human interference at all. And it's something completely different to, it was almost the opposite concept to Jurassic Park, where there's going to be nobody viewing them, no one interfering with them, and no human presence at all, really. It's just a case of animals being able to roam free, much like Site B and The Lost World. But there's an issue because obviously we need to have Chris Pratt back in the movie, and he's no longer with Claire. So the whole thing is that Blue, the Velociraptor, is the last of its kind. They need Blue as almost as a priority to come over to the sanctuary. And the only person that would be able to track Blue and bring her in would be Owen Grady. So that's where Chris Pratt's character comes back into it. Now, initially, Owen Grady is a bit apprehensive. He's more a case of he's cut ties with it, and he's more of the mindset of, look, what will be will be. We shouldn't be interfering with this. That is until he goes home and actually thinks about his relationship with Blue and looks at the old footage of him training Blue when Blue had just been born. And he then has a change of heart and decides, no, I need to go and get that animal back because the attachment, the bond is still there. All of that is quite nice. I'm going to ignore the just absurdity of dinosaur rights activists and the existence of those. I'm going to ignore that just for the purposes of this film, because again, without those there, you're not going to have the plot of this movie take place. And maybe that's a good thing, because this movie shouldn't exist, but it does. So we're just going to steamroll through it. We get onto the island, and Owen Grady and Claire, they are joined by Zia and I forget his name, Franklin, that's it. So Franklin, who's a tech guy, and Zia is a vet. They ultimately get onto the island with a group of soldiers who's led by Buffalo Bill. You know who I'm talking about, Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, that guy. So he's there, even though he's about sort of 70, 75. He's leading the soldiers onto the island for protection, basically. And the first dinosaur they come across is the Diplodocus or Brachiosaurus, whichever one it is, but it harks back to the original Jurassic Park film where they see it. The problem is that the sense of awe is now gone because we've seen 5 movies, or this is movie number 5 now, where we see dinosaurs. So we really don't care, and it's quite satisfying actually in that, because it's the point that Claire made in the first one, where dinosaurs are just now seen as normal zoo animals, zoo attractions. The sense of wonder is gone, and it is actually evident in this. Whether that was intended by the movie or not is another matter, but that's how I feel, and that's the way I like to look at it. I like to try and give this movie as many props as I can, because there really aren't many to give it. They carry on with their mission to try and sort of save as many dinosaurs as possible. They do manage to get hold of Blue, but Blue is tranquilized against Owen's orders, who is then tranquilized himself because he goes to smack Buffalo Bill. And then Zia is basically kidnapped to look after Blue after Blue gets shot as well. I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, something sort of starts to tick in your head that maybe these guys aren't as nice as you thought they might be. Not that you ever thought they were, but yeah, obviously there's some sort of ulterior motive there because of how gung-ho they clearly are. So the volcano erupts, and Owen Grady has managed to get over his paralysis and reunite with Claire and Franklin. They manage to hop off the island and get onto the carrier, even though they've been left for dead by the soldiers. Again, not a great move for these apparent heroes, but yeah, not great. But again, they get off, and they do sort of witness the extinction of all the remaining animals that are left on the island. And it is, quite a sad scene, really. But at the same time, these are dinosaurs that shouldn't have been alive in the first place. So the emotional attachment that we have to them maybe isn't as strong as what it would be for an everyday animal. Though it's here that we actually start to realise that Eli isn't as nice as we thought. He has got an ulterior motive, and that's revealed to be that the reason he's bringing these animals over is to sell them on the black market, basically in an auction, in order to fund further research into creating a new super being by mixing the DNA of the Anonymous Rex from the previous movie with and combining the research of Owen Grady in regards to obedience in velociraptors to create a new breed of velociraptor. And the whole point of doing this is to basically proceed with the plan, the military plan that was presented in the previous movie, in that if you had a predator that you could control out in the field, you would be able to wipe out almost any military force opposing you without having to risk the lives of real men, or real people, I should say. So anyway, there's a few sort of random things that happen throughout the boat journey back to the United States. One of them being that they need to do a transfusion for Blue because the Velociraptor is going to die without one. They need to get it from another predator, another carnivore, so they choose a T-Rex to get it from. The T-Rex is sedated, but there's a whole thing about it coming back to consciousness and fighting it off. And it's a bit of fun. It is a bit of fun, but it is still boring because it takes the sting out, the terror that it should evoke, but it doesn't. Anyway, you get back to the mainland. They get taken to Lockwood Estate, where Claire then realises, oh, it's a Lockwood Estate, and I was here before, and oh no, what are we doing here? And they're basically locked up in a cage, and Eli reveals himself to be the sort of evil genius behind this whole plan, and reveals what his plan is, and essentially says that, yes, I'm exploiting these animals, but I own up to it. You exploited these animals and you don't own up to it, so you're worse than me. At the same time, if you didn't think Eli was bad, you know he's bad now, because he's gone and killed Ben Lockwood, who we got introduced to him earlier on in the film, and he was revealed to be Hammond's partner back in the day, but there was a falling out, which is probably why he has never been mentioned up until now, just retconned in. He's got a granddaughter called Maisie, who seems to just be running around wild and stumbling across plans left, right, and centre. And she goes back and tells her granddad about Eli's plan, and Eli decides just to kill him. Yeah, I mean, the guy's bedridden and ill, but yeah, just kill him, because, I mean, honestly, what is he going to do? The plan is, I need you to call the police and turn yourself in. For what? What's selling dinosaurs? I don't think there's any crime on the planet that involves that. So, right, ridiculous. Anyway, it carries on. The auction scene takes place, and it's at this point where I'm sitting there thinking, the plot has already been convoluted enough, with it being from a quest to save the dinosaurs to a quest to, well, actually, I don't know. It's a quest to save dinosaurs, but obviously that changes because it turns out they're not saving dinosaurs, they're bringing them back to auction off. But there's no quest there's no point, there's no aim for the main characters. They're just stuck in a cage, and the auction takes place, so they're not able to stop anything, even though and there's no plan to stop anything. And you see the dinosaurs get packaged up and sent off to whoever it is they've been sold to. The movie just sort of just loses itself in just an absence of a plot. And I sat there and I thought to myself, it must be near the end, because it's starting to wind down here. I looked, and it's only been an hour and 15 minutes. I've still got 45 minutes left of this film to watch. What is left to happen? I still don't understand why there was so much left of this film to watch. It carries on. They manage to break out of the steel trap, and the others, Zia and Franklin, they manage to get Blue out of its cage, and Blue comes out, and halfway through the auction, they unveil their new raptor, and it's called the Indoraptor. And the whole point of it is that it's been specially designed by Dr. Henry Wu, who has returned once again as an even more cartoonish version of himself. Just, well, not exactly exaggerated in his behaviour, but just a caricature of who he's meant to be. He's just now an evil scientist that can just put like DNA strands together like building blocks, or like Lego pieces together, just to create whatever it is, and has somehow created another new dinosaur. This dinosaur has been trained to follow a specific gun, so it follows the laser trail first to get its attention, then it uses a specific sort of pitch of noise to cause it to attack, and to only attack, or to attack it until the target has been defeated, is dead. And they mention that it's relentless, and you can see that in its behaviour. It's also demonstrated how smart this new dinosaur is in Buffalo Bill, who's got a tooth fetish, apparently, who just likes taking teeth out of dinosaurs' gums for something. I don't know why, where he like. I mean, he mentioned about centerpiece, but I don't know who's interested in that. Anyway, he goes to take a tooth out of this Indoraptor, and the raptor basically sort of plays possum. And is luring him in until it can then attack. And one thing I will say about this whole auction thing is, who's buying a dinosaur? Like, seriously, who is it that's doing it? I mean, I remember watching Scarface, and the mention of him buying a tiger was like, everyone responded and went, "You're crazy for wanting a tiger. No one's going to be friends with you. No one's going to come and visit you if you have a tiger. What are you doing? Why are you thinking this in the first place? You're clearly insane, and I don't want anything to do with you if you have a tiger." But now, fast forward, and a dinosaur's a lot worse, but people are like, "Oh yeah, 10 million. Why? What are you doing with it? What, are you going to put it in the fields, or like plough your fields or something? Or what if it's like, if you get a burglar, you're going to set the velociraptor on it or something. What are you doing? It's just how ridiculous this film is. So yeah, we get the usual. I mean, the Indoraptor sort of breaks free. It's then a cat and mouse game between Maisie and the others with regards to sort of surviving it and outrunning it. And then you get just the most. Again, this just illustrates how much of a mess this movie is. So you then have Claire, who plays an active role in getting the Anonymous Rex to fall through a glass roof and get impaled upon a sculpture in the museum with the help of Blue as well. Now, Claire is established to be an dinosaur activist to the point where she's willing to risk her life to go over and save these dinosaurs. And the key reason is because they are the last of their kind and will become extinct. Now you have a new raptor that's been created and is mentioned to be a prototype. And this is clearly the only one of its kind. And without any hesitation, any questioning as to whether it's the right thing to do, she plays a major hand in killing it. We then go forwards into the next scene. The very next scene, we go into the control room where the dinosaurs are being kept, or the remaining dinosaurs are being kept, and they're basically being gassed. And Claire can help them by releasing them from the room and out into the wider world. She releases the cages with no hesitation, but then she stops before releasing the doors and decides to take the heavy decision to let them die rather than allow them to roam the earth. Now that decision makes sense because whilst you've got her wanting to save the dinosaurs, she has to weigh up what the consequences are if they were to mix with humans, and she has seen firsthand what happens when that does take place at Jurassic World. So she has a dilemma there whether or not to go with her head or her heart, and she chooses her head and allows them to die. That makes sense. But it doesn't make sense when it follows on immediately after her having no issue in killing off a dinosaur. That it just contradicts the character within 2 scenes of each other, and it's just 3 scenes really, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Once again, inconsistent character building and inconsistent character arc. Oh, and did I mention that Maisie is actually a clone? I don't know if I did mention that, but either way, it doesn't actually add anything to the plot other than a reason why she releases the dinosaurs out into the wild or out into the wider Earth. Why that's even mentioned, I don't know. Why that's even a thing, I don't know. It's just an extra thing to add in. It doesn't add anything at all to the plot. And we are then, I mean, the worst bit about that whole part with her releasing the dinosaurs out into the wider world is the music behind it just swells as if it's a heroic decision she's made to allow dinosaurs to mix with man with no restrictions put in place. So what I'm led to believe is that that was the right decision based on the music choices put into that scene. But then immediately that's undone by the next scene because we have Dr. Malcolm talking about this is what we've been building to ever since Dinosaur was brought back from extinction by John Hammond, was that it was always building to dinosaur and man coexisting and having to fight for control of the earth. And the movie finishes on that note, and it's a note of doom and dread, completely contradicting the heroic building up of the decision that Maisie took to release the animals in the first place. So what are we supposed to actually believe here? What decision are we supposed to side with? Are we supposed to sort of want the dinosaurs to die out to prevent them from killing off man? Or are we meant to support the dinosaurs being able to live and have a chance at survival by causing extinction of humans? I don't understand what I'm supposed to be feeling or what this movie is supposed to be leaning towards. In the end, this movie is just an absolute convoluted mess. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and it just drags out the runtime just to an absolute standstill. Just like the previous movie, it rushes the beginning to the point where we are left with just no road to run along, even though we've still got 45 minutes or half an hour left of the movie. It's rushed through the original sort of parts of the storyline just to get to this climax, which is just completely unfulfilling because it just feels rushed. Clearly, the whole focus of this movie was to give us another new dinosaur, but in order to get there, it had to go through these hoops in the first place, and it's ultimately just rushed through these hoops to get there, and it's just, oh, it just makes you it makes you wish that you could just click the fast forward button and just speed run this movie. It really does. The CGI, yeah, is good as you'd expect. It does keep getting better and better, but once again, there's just an over reliance of it because it's just, again, it it's just reduced the velociraptors down to no threat at all. It's now a case where Blue is very much on the side of the humans and is our champion in the dinosaur world, fighting off any sort of threat that comes towards. And it it takes away the sense of powerlessness that humans have against the dinosaurs because they got some on their side. That to me is just absolutely ridiculous in the first place. But overall, a convoluted plot. Character decisions that actually make no sense and eliminating any possible decent character building and character development that has been established is a crime in itself. The only saving grace for this film is, again, the CGI and the originality of the fact of a new dinosaur that comes into it, as well as the original part of just building up those characters, and a decent throwback from Dr. Malcolm sort of coming back into it and actually staying true to his character. I give props for that as well, but everything else just a complete mess, and I'm not going to be watching this again. 2 stars. So what did you guys think of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? As always, whatever your opinions are, just pop them in the comment section below. I'd love to have a look at them and have a read and see what you guys think. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be coming back again with Jurassic Park Dominion. But until then, I will see you guys soon.